Have you ever felt like this? It never ends. It never ends. Well, that's because it never ends. We are in continuing, I should say, to be in the midst of these unfolding, these relentlessly unfolding, these ceaselessly unfolding horrors in many cases. And it's I think it's really easy. And we talked about this before, but it's really easy, especially on days like today, to feel like it's all coming at us from different directions. That they are just coming up with new ways to torment us, new things to destroy. And how do we defend ourselves against it? Well, I think the first thing we need to do is just stop for a second and realize that none of this is accidental. In fact, it's intentional, it's purposeful. And these people, not necessarily Donald because he's an idiot, but the people he has surrounded himself with, or I should say, who have taken advantage of his weaknesses, which are legion, to position themselves in close proximity to him, to be influential, to have his ear, which is clearly something Elon Musk learned a while back. They have been planning this for decades, actually, but certainly as soon as Donald Trump came on the scene and made a perfect foil for all of this, they've been planning this since 2016. So it's not as if during that 4-year interregnum when we sort of almost accidentally seized democracy from the jaws of autocracy, that nothing happened. They kept doing the work out of sight. I mean, some of it was absolutely blatant, like, making people think that the insurrection didn't happen or that it was not a big deal or that it was a good thing. But they've been laying the groundwork for everything they're doing right now. And as I say often, it is all of a piece and it is all connected. This is all one agenda. How does that help us? Well, one, it sort of takes off the table needing to be confused about anything. It's very clear. It's not that they're doing 20 million different things to drive us crazy. They're doing one thing to undermine us. And that should not confuse us at all. That should galvanize us. That should unite us. And that should make it very simple for us. What are we fighting? We're not fighting all of these thousands of different battles. We're fighting one war. And we have one enemy. And it's them. Let's dive in. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mary Trump Live. It's wonderful to have you here. It is great to be here with you. Today, Robert Kennedy made an announcement about the future of the Department of Health and Human Services, which he actually leads. Take a look.
Our department is filled for the most part with competent, conscientious public servants, and yet the agency has been inefficient as a whole. Over the past 4 years during the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38%, and its staffing increased by 17%, but all that money has failed to improve the health of Americans. We are the sickest nation in the world, and we have the highest rate of chronic disease. The U.S. ranks last among 40 developed nations in terms of health, but we spend 2 to 3 times more per capita than those nations. When I arrived, I found that over half of our employees don't even come to work. HHS has more than 100 communications offices and more than 40 IT departments and dozens of procurement offices and 9 HR departments. We'll enter a new era of responsiveness and a new era of effectiveness. We're going to consolidate all of these departments and make them accountable to you, the American taxpayer, and the American patient.
Okay, I know this isn't relevant necessarily, but was he shooting that? It was like the first talkie. What was up with that video? Anyway, he's an environmental attorney. He doesn't know anything, first of all. Secondly, maybe the budget of HHS increased because, I don't know, we were dealing with a global pandemic that the Trump administration made worse. Maybe, just a guess. Also, 40% of people didn't come to work. They worked from home. And they continue to because it was an efficient way to do things. And you guys don't want things to be efficient. You don't want people's lives to be made easier. No, you want to make everything harder. The idea of slashing 20,000 jobs, which is what is going to happen, and consolidating 28 divisions into 15 isn't efficient. It is the opposite. Here's a look at more specific numbers. Play this clip.
This is not only workers being laid off, but this is also a serious consolidation of the smaller agencies within HHS coming together. And you take a look here, the workforce is now going from 82,000 to 62,000. You may be asking, that's 20,000 less, 10,000 layoffs, but he says 10,000 who have voluntarily stepped down from their positions. You've got 10 regional offices around the country that are going to be cut down to 5. And then obviously more cuts beyond that. And when you dig into the numbers here, the FDA is going to lose 3,500 workers. The CDC is going to lose 2,400. NIH will lose 1,200. CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, they will be losing 300 full-time employees. So these are significant cuts here.
Okay. National Institute of Health employees warned that these reductions could significantly harm scientific research and public health initiatives. Again, people need to stop with pulling their punches. They will absolutely harm scientific research and public health initiatives. Employees will learn their fate on Friday because, I don't know, every day is like Russian roulette now with these people, with layoffs taking effect in May. Senator Angela Alsobrooks, a Democrat of Maryland, called the cuts dangerous and deadly, while the National Treasury Employees Union vowed to fight back. Critics warn that slashing oversight roles could lead to more waste and inefficiencies, their specialty, in the long run. The restructuring moves the Administration for Strategic Preparedness and Response under the CDC, that's the Centers for Disease Control, reversing a Biden-era move that had elevated it to improve emergency responsiveness. Critics argue that this will weaken disaster response efforts. The changes align with Donald's agenda of dismantling federal oversight and cutting government size, an effort, as we know, that has been led disastrously by Elon Musk and his department of ironically, I don't know if it's ironic, I don't know if it's black humor, I have no idea, but the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. Robert Kennedy, again, who now heads the HHS, much to our horror, justified the cuts by blaming bureaucratic inefficiencies and accusing agencies of corruption. But he provided little evidence because who needs evidence anymore? Really, who needs it? Because they're going to do whatever they want to do. They don't care that there's a reason that there are so many divisions, right? There are people who have certain expertise, right? There are people who have institutional knowledge. There are civil servants who have been in these organizations for decades. They know what they're doing. They know where their resources need to go. And just recklessly disregarding evidence and knowledge and experience because you want to prove some stupid point, you want more money to fund useless research, like let's see if there's actually a connection between, I don't know, immunization and autism. There's not, but they won't take no for an answer. So they're going to keep doing this until what? What is the end goal here? Well, they want to dismantle the administrative state and they want to get rid of regulation. Why? That's only going to make us sicker and weaker. Oh, and by the way, you want to talk about why it's so expensive, why we're last? We don't have universal health care. That's why. It's pretty simple stuff. You would think that the head of HHS would know that, but he's an idiot and he's an environmental attorney. He's also a sadist and it's like a sociopath. Like, I think they all have that in common. I need a shorthand. Let's get an acronym for what it is. We'll workshop it later. Anyway, as the saying goes, this is something we could also be saying very frequently. There's no honor amongst thieves. Poor Lee Stefanik. No, she sucks. It's okay. She's finding this out because, play the clip.
President Trump pulling Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik's nomination for U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. This comes amid concerns about how House Republicans' razor-thin majority and questions about whether she'd actually have the votes to be confirmed by the Senate. The president confirming the news in a post on Truth Social, saying it is vital they maintain every Republican seat in Congress.
Yeah, who cares about your future? Who cares about the fact that you gave up a committee assignment, like a really good committee assignment? Yeah, who cares? Donald withdrew her nomination to be UN ambassador just days before the Senate was set to move forward on her confirmation, and she would have been confirmed. Again, the context is important. This comes as Republicans grow more and more nervous about their razor-thin House margin ahead of two Florida special elections set to take place on Tuesday, one of which is actually a nail-biter. Donald's candidate, Randy Fine, is polling within just 3 points in a district that Donald won by 30. Donald sucks at numbers, so I'm going to help spell this out for you, Donald. That's a very big swing. That's bad for you. Stefanik, who spent months preparing for her departure, has lost her leadership spot, as I mentioned, serving as number 4, along with committee stature and influence in the process, and is now stranded in the House without a clear role. Aw. It's okay. Like I said, she's vile. Good. Her nomination was expected to go through on April 2nd, but concerns that New York Governor Kathy Hochul might delay a replacement appear to have made the Trump regime very, very nervous, as they should be. They have a 2-vote margin in the House. There are over 538, I believe, something like that, members in the House of Representatives. That's a lot of people on every given day. Somebody could be sick. Somebody could need surgery. People die, I mean, it happens. That's a lot of people to make sure are in one spot to vote at any given time. 2 votes is nothing. So it's very possible just by attrition or, Republicans get arrested a lot of times for stuff. So that alone could make it easier for Democrats to regain the majority. And then we have Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries. And finally, we have some guardrail between what's happening and what we don't want to have happen. So they are going to do whatever they can, even if it's throwing Elise Stefanik under the bus, which is, again, fine. But it also, she returns to Congress weakened, which is good. And she may not be a viable candidate next time she needs to run for re-election in 2016. 2016. Yeah, we want to go back there. Things are bad enough. My God. 2026. So Stefanik is not the only one who is getting stomped on by Donald this week, because he's also, as we've seen, doing a very serious number on the stock market. And I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm sort of tired in general, and I've been trying to figure out, why am I so tired? Yes, there's a lot going on, but we should be used to this by now, right? We should be inured to the exhaustion and the endlessness of the news cycle. Why am I so tired? I figured it out. I looked at the stock market and I realized I'm tired of winning, just as Donald predicted so many years ago. The Dow Jones ended Thursday in the negative, with Ford shares dropping over 3%, General Motors shares declining more than 6%, as investors responded to Donald's moronic announcement of a new 25% tariff on auto imports. What announcement of his is not moronic? I apologize for, being redundant. Take a look at this report.
The closing bell rang just moments ago as investors react to President Donald Trump's new 25% tariffs on auto imports. So the Dow landing in the red. Ford fell more than 3%. General Motors fell more than 6%. So the 25% auto tariffs target imported cars, including passenger vehicles and light trucks, as well as imported parts, including engines, transmissions, powertrain parts, and electrical components. And keep in mind, one vehicle component may cross the U.S., Mexico, and U.S., Canada borders up to 8 times before reaching final assembly, according to eMarketer.
Okay, so that's going to continue to get worse, because he's going to continue to double and quadruple down on his insanity, because he's insane. There's also, and this next thing should not surprise us at all. There's also been breaking news in what they're calling, but I really wish they wouldn't call, Signalgate. Please, like, I mean, everything should be called something Donald, because this is all so much worse than that petty crime that was Watergate. Like, seriously. Anyway, and actually it shouldn't be that, because it would make him happy to have everything named after him. So let's not do that. Anyway, according to the Wall Street Journal, and this is pretty shocking, Israel was the source of intelligence behind the Yemen airstrike that Mike Waltz described and in the now infamous Signal group chat. 2 U.S. officials confirmed to the Journal that the intel came from a human source inside Yemen, somebody who helped track a top Houthi missile expert to his girlfriend's building just before it was destroyed. Quote, their first target, their top missile guy, we had positive idea of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and now it's collapsed. That's what Waltz wrote in that Signal thread, that unsecured, kind of encrypted, but not really Signal thread. That detail, casually shared by Waltz in real time in front of a group of people that had not been vetted, is now creating diplomatic fallout. Israeli officials are reportedly livid that their involvement leaked, especially since the source's identity could be at risk. But let's remember, these same reckless morons also revealed the identity of a CIA agent. So do you think they're going to stop at revealing an Israeli source? Of course not, because they don't care. This development undercuts the Trump regime's repeated claims the chat did not include sensitive or classified information, claims already questioned after flight paths and strike timing were casually shared by multiple top officials, and that, by the way, were confirmed. In further developments, the Trump regime is facing significant legal challenges in the wake of this Signal. What we should call it is a national security debacle. Take a look.
The high-stakes court hearing after the sharing of U.S. attack plans on a Signal group chat. A nonprofit transparency group has filed a lawsuit against 5 Trump cabinet members, alleging the use of Signal violates federal law governing the preservation of government records. And the judge overseeing the case is James Boasberg, the same judge who blocked the Trump administration's migrant deportation flights.
Now, the other argument from the administration, Stephanie, is that they claim Signal is a fine mode of communication for this kind of conversation. Well, that's not the case. Signal is not approved for the Department of Defense or intelligence agencies to transmit non-public information, especially not this kind of highly sensitive conversation about the precise timing of an attack.
Okay, so Signal is not approved. We know that. We probably would have known that before if we thought that these people were insane enough to use it to share highly sensitive classified information. And yet the people in that Signal chat were the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and the National Security Advisor, among others. Today, federal judge James Boasberg has ordered the Trump regime to preserve all Signal messages sent between March 11th and March 15th in that now infamous group chat where senior officials discussed those military strikes. The order came after American Oversight sued, warning that the chat's auto-delete settings posed a, quote, imminent danger of destruction, unquote, to the records. Boasberg is demanding a sworn declaration by Monday confirming preservation. According to The Atlantic, the messages were initially set to vanish after 1 week, but that setting was changed to 4 weeks the day the strikes began. That doesn't mean they cannot have been reset, I should say, to 1 day. So the question remains, will they follow the judge's instructions? Thus far, they do not seem to care what judges have to say or what the judge's orders are. All right. I've got to give everybody a warning up front. What we're about to discuss has really been causing all of us here at Maritime Media, a lot of grief and disturbance. So please be warned. I'm not kidding. I'm being very serious. What we're about to see is quite horrific, and it fills me with all sorts of complicated, difficult emotions, shame among them, of course, but worse. So yesterday, on March 26, 2025, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem filmed a video in front of a prison cell that was absolutely packed with prisoners. This was in El Salvador's Seco facility. And she essentially was threatening migrants who cross into the United States illegally. Critics slammed the use of detainees as political props. Watch the clip.
And a federal appeals court stopping the deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. In a 2-1 decision, that court sided with attorneys for 5 Venezuelan men sent to El Salvador for being suspected members of the Tren de Aragua gang. The Trump administration raging against D.C. Judge James Boasberg, who issued the first ruling against the Trump moves in this case. So this ruling really applies to the use of the Alien Enemies Act. It does not prevent deportations under any other existing immigration laws. Meanwhile, Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem is in El Salvador to tour that very prison where more than 200 of those deported are being held right now behind bars. It's called the Terrorist Confinement Center. In fact, here's what she posted on social media about that visit.
If you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use.
That woman murdered a puppy. And if you have a problem only with the people behind the bars and not for the woman in front of them, you have a problem. Noem claimed deported migrants could face prosecution and imprisonment in foreign facilities like Seco, which the Trump regime is using to house those accused of gang activity. In fact, they're paying El Salvador to house them. Use them for forced labor, more like, despite court rulings blocking such deportation. See, that's what we get back to. They don't care about judges' orders. If they don't like them, they will ignore them. Social media users and civil rights advocates blasted the video staging and messaging, calling it vile and un-American. Legal experts noted that entering the U.S. without documentation is a civil offense, not a crime. It is a misdemeanor in the same league with getting a parking ticket. Viewers noted Noem was wearing expensive jewelry because what does a woman wear to a detention facility in which there are allegedly violent criminals who are terrorists? Well, I guess what goes with that? Like what's a good match? Apparently, a $60,000 Rolex Daytona. So that's what you need to be wearing while you're making threats in a prison known for extreme conditions, which is to say abjectly inhumane conditions and human rights violations. So, somebody recently said, I think it was during the Nerds, where's Leni Riefenstahl when you need her? These people in the Trump regime, these people who are leading these agencies, either to turn them into institutions of racism and anti-immigrant hatred and cruelty, or, like Kennedy and others, just to dismantle them altogether. They are coming from a place of power. All they care about is power. And unfortunately, just like their boss, they derive their power from using those who are the most vulnerable, making object lessons of them, and essentially robbing them of their humanity. I have to hope that there's a tipping point somewhere. I have to hope that there are enough people in this country who will see a video like that and just grind everything to a halt and say enough and no more. We cannot, this is unsustainable. We cannot survive if we allow these kinds of crimes against humanity to continue. As if using the suffering of human beings as a background prop for your video wasn't enough of a nightmare. Students in U.S. universities are starting to vanish. At Tufts University, and I know it doesn't matter if it's Tufts, it doesn't matter if it's UCLA, but I went to Tufts, so this feels personal. Tufts University PhD student was detained by federal agents. Her name is Rumeysa. Sorry, I can't pronounce it. I apologize. Ozturk. She's a graduate student. She was arrested in Somerville, Massachusetts, which is where I used to live, on Tuesday. She was swiftly removed, however, from the state before a federal judge could issue an order restricting the government's action in her case. Here's what happened. Watch this.
This is the moment Tufts University graduate student Rumeysa Ozturk was arrested and taken into federal custody. Doorbell camera footage obtained by NBC News shows two plainclothes officers approaching the 30-year-old in Somerville outside of Boston. Ozturk at first appears to back away before more agents approach, one eventually taking her phone out of her hand. Officers then take her backpack off, handcuff her, and lead her across the street to a car. An onlooker heard questioning why the officers' faces are covered. Ozturk's lawyer says she was on her way to break Ramadan fast with friends on Tuesday night when she was detained without explanation. She says her client, a Turkish national, was in the U.S. working toward a PhD in child study and human development on a valid F-1 visa. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security today, writing in part, DHS and ICE investigations found Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans. Glorifying and supporting terrorists who kill Americans is grounds for visa issuance to be terminated.
I don't believe them. I believe nothing these people say. Nothing. Because they'll say anything to do what they want, which is disappear young people from our streets because, let's see, is it inexplicable? No, she was going to break her Ramadan fast. That's all they need to know. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed that Ozturk's visa was among the 300 or more that have been revoked by his department, stating, quote, "We revoked your visa. Once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States. If you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us, we don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country," unquote. Yeah. Go back to your country and study child development. Here's more from Rubio.
I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out.
Yes, that's right. Seeking an advanced degree at a prestigious American university is akin to breaking into somebody's house and getting mud all over their furniture. Yeah, great analogy. It is spineless worms like that who helped the Nazis gain and keep power. Okay, first of all. Secondly, do you know what you need? Do you know the process you need to go through, especially if you're from certain countries, to get into an American university like Tufts, to get permission to come here, to do the outrageous thing of getting an advanced degree in child studies? She was already invited into this country, you creep. She was here already. What did she do? You're saying she has some ideology is not enough. Prove it. Prove it. Also, by the way, and this is not irrelevant, this is not a small matter. We do not know, which is to say, nobody knows where she is right now. ICE won't tell anybody. They will not say where she's being held. Why? Why? Because they don't want to. This isn't just about this one woman or about the 299 other people who have been disappeared by this fascist, violent regime. It's about the fear it's going to strike into everybody else. And it should strike fear into all of us. In a press conference, Donald said the Trump regime will, quote, go as far as we have to, unquote, to get control of Greenland because he's insane. Today, Putin warned that the U.S. move reflects broader ambitions to expand geostrategic and military influence in the Arctic amid growing competition between Russia, the U.S., and China over mineral sources and trade routes. Think about that for a second. Putin is having a problem with this. Or is he? I don't know. Maybe it's just pretext. But he has pledged to increase Russia's military capabilities in the Arctic in response to NATO's expanding role, especially following Finland and Sweden's accession to the alliance. The Greenland push and recent Donald Putin calls signaled that the Trump regime's willingness to align with Russia on Arctic strategy while antagonizing traditional U.S. allies like Denmark. Despite military posturing, Putin and Russian investment officials hinted at future U.S.-Russia energy collaboration in the Arctic if Washington remains open under Donald's leadership.
For anybody, and it would be a great mistake to believe that these are just some eccentric talk of a new American administration. Nothing of the kind. In fact, such plans were obvious back in 1860s. Back then, the U.S. administration considered the possibility of annexation of Greenland and Iceland, but this idea was not supported by Congress at the time. Let me remind you that by 1869, the American papers laughed at the purchase of Alaska. The deal was called a folly. Alaska was called an icebox.
Donald further insisted Denmark also, quote, needs us to have Greenland, unquote, despite the fact that Denmark has said repeatedly and often and vociferously that no, they do not want that. They want Greenland to be independent, just as Greenland does. Greenlandic Prime Minister Mute Egede condemned the visit as part of a, quote, very aggressive American pressure, unquote, and called for international condemnation. He reaffirmed that Greenland belongs to Greenlanders and rejected the idea of being bought or controlled by the United States. Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen called the decision to limit the U.S. visit wise, signaling Denmark's unease with Donald's ambitions while avoiding direct confrontation. This, again, is not a joke. Just because it's insane and just because it's literally the product of Donald having gotten some crazy notion into his head and not being able to get rid of it or not being able to let go of it doesn't mean we shouldn't take this seriously. Why? Because do I think the United States is going to invade Greenland? Well, unfortunately, I can't say no definitively. I still think it's highly unlikely, but because our soon-to-be former and in some cases already former allies cannot trust us. They have to prepare as if these things are going to happen. Because it happened with the tariffs. There were threats, and they were withdrawn, and there were threats again, and then they became reality. These countries have to act in their own best interest because it is quite obvious to anybody paying attention that the United States, as led by these fascists, no longer have the rest of the world's best interests in mind, just as they no longer have the best interests of the American people or our national security in mind. As Donald continues to threaten Greenland, oh, this is fun, Second Lady Usha Vance, her scheduled trip there has been downgraded significantly. Originally, she was supposed to attend a dog sled race with her children, and this weekend, this weekend, and now they're going to be visiting a U.S. military base later in the week. Greenland basically said no to both Usha and J.D. Vance, the vice president, apparently, The alteration of the second lady's trip to Greenland seems to have been for the best, as locals reportedly didn't want her there. I don't know. I think it would have been fun to see what happened. U.S. representatives were seen going door to door in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, to gauge how the visit would be received. Well, how did that work out for them? The response was overwhelmingly negative. Reports that the locals showed no interest in the Vance family's visit to the extent that they even know who these people are, except they're interlopers who are unwanted, with U.S. officials hearing repeated rejections. They've gotten no, every single time. That was TV2 correspondent Jesper Steinmetz. That was what he shared. As a result, the Vance family's travel plans to Greenland were canceled, and they will now visit a U.S. space base on the island's northwest coast later this week. Take a look.
An Arctic cold shoulder, you could say, is the word that we've been hearing around town. So we are in Nuuk. It's the northernmost capital. And this high-level delegation, including the vice president, including the second lady, will not be setting foot in this city, in any other Greenlandic towns or cities. And that is by design. So earlier this week, Morgan, we've seen kind of this real rejection of this cultural visit and the fever pitch grow, both from Copenhagen, from Denmark, from Danish officials, as well as from Greenlandic officials. And the overwhelming sense is relief. The sense is that actually, if they're going to meet with U.S. military personnel, that's appropriate and acceptable. Coming here uninvited, unwelcome, felt aggressive and provocative.
We've always looked at America like the nice big brother to help you out. And now it's like the big brother's bullying you.
What did it feel like when they pulled out?
Relief, I think.
A lot of relief from almost everyone we've spoken with. But Morgan, the message is also clear. They want American tourists. They welcome American investment. They don't, however, want to be dictated to.
I want to go to Greenland now. And yes, I can imagine you're set to meet with JD Vance and he cancels. Oh, thank God. I would be so relieved. Although I am disappointed about something. I was really looking forward to the welcoming committee of polar bears. That could have been fun. Meanwhile, outside the United States Embassy in Nuuk, Greenland, watch this. Okay, just for context, that's the entire population of Greenland right there. 99.7% say no. We don't want you. We reject you. Go away. Sorry, polar bears. We'll feed you something else. Anyway, good for Greenland. And seriously, go visit. I've never been, but I'm sure it's amazing and cold. But it's amazing. So let's support Greenland any way we can. Seriously, I don't know what things they export. I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out what they export, and we're all going to buy stuff from them. Okay. It is time, thank goodness, because this has been a roller coaster tonight. Wow. So it's time for our emotional support moment. And this time, we're not back to the planet. We're back to the planet Earth, but we're in the sea, which is one of my favorite places to be. Humpback whales, which are awesome, can be found in oceans across the globe. Each year, they embark on long journeys, and they hold the record for one of the most extensive migrations of any mammal. Certain populations travel up to 5,000 miles from warm breeding areas to cooler, more nutrient-rich feeding zones. So I want us to take a moment and enjoy just how beautiful, seriously beautiful and graceful these enormous whales are. I'm going to need to be able to play that during the show sometimes. I think that would help. Okay, so this was a lot, but I want to get to your questions and comments now. So let me do that. All right. Misha, sorry. Anyway, thank you very much for that. I need to know what that currency is. Question. Well, first, thank you from Switzerland. Thank you. I love Switzerland. Question. What can Europe do to help the USA get back on the democratic path and put an end to this dangerous isolationism? Wow. I wish Europe could do something. Honestly, I think the rest of the world just needs to let this fire burn out. I really do, because, it would be one thing if Donald hadn't been in office for 4 years, but we did this twice, and it's our problem. And I know it's scary because it is affecting the whole world. But if we don't let this just burn down, metaphorically speaking, it's only going to get worse. So let's hope that they just overstep or just implode. Like, that's sort of what I'm hoping, as quickly as humanly possible. Because the quicker it happens, the more there will be to rebuild. Nancy, thank you as always. That's great. Comment, I'm a cheesehead. That's a Wisconsin thing. Ready to vote on April 1st. Please follow Wisconsinites. Vote. Sorry, fellow. That makes more sense. Fellow Wisconsinites and vote. Yes. For those who don't remember or don't know, on April 1st, there is a very, very, very important election in Wisconsin. The state Supreme Court, the balance of the state Supreme Court is being determined. Right now, the Democrats have a 4-3 majority. That is up for grabs. And Elon Musk is funding the Republican candidate, but thankfully, there are a couple of rich Democrats who understand what's at stake, so they're funding the Democratic candidate. So everybody, turnout is going to be crucially important. So Dems, do this thing, please. Just me, thank you as always. That's awesome. Comment, I'm beginning to think my ability to dissociate is a superpower. I have to be honest with you. I, too, have been known to dissociate. And yes, it feels really, well, it doesn't really feel like anything, which can be nice in times of stress, but it's very bad for you. So please don't dissociate. Or not. I know one doesn't necessarily have control over it, but just be mindful. Also, I totally empathize. Terry's Tenacious, thank you so much for that. Comment, crazy president and a stupid cabinet. Yes, and yes. It's a great combination, don't you think? Wow. Rock and Steady, thank you so much for that. Comment, thank you, Mary, and thank you to the mods. This channel has been really amazing during such a difficult time. Mary, you're the best. I'm not, but thank you. I really appreciate that you think so. That's fantastic. And yes, shout out to the mods, always. And my team. Nancy, thank you very much. And that emoji makes me sick, but so too does the puppy murderer. An absolutely, utterly vile, inhumane, whatever she is, Christina. Knucklehead, thank you very much for that. Comment, due process. Yeah. Yes. What happened to it? It is hanging by a thread. That's what's happening to it. Barbara, thank you very much, Barbara. Comment, dear God, disappearing people walking the street to meet friends. Yeah, I mean, we are it's beyond the pale and not at all something I think any of us envisioned happening in the 21st century. It's shocking. Again, not surprising. We can't be surprised because, of course, they've been telling us they're going to do this stuff. I think we're just surprised that it's so brazen, and they just are going after. They're making it all up. Remember, the worst of the worst, the criminals, the rapists, the murderers. No, of graduate students whose opinions they don't like. No. And by the way, that is not going to be contained to that population of people. Loves my dogs a lot. Thank you as always. That's very generous of you. Comment. Hi, Mary. So Uncle Don will be known as the fertilizer president. Yes. I think you may have heard it here first, unless you heard him say it first. I hope he doesn't intend to follow Musk's example of spreading his... Oh, boy. Nope, I'm not. I'm sorry. There's only so much I can take. And I cannot take that. But I'm going to stick with, he is a fertilizer president. Because as my grandfather would say, I'm not saying this, I'm quoting my grandfather, he's a piece of shit. Kathy, thank you very much. Comment. Hi, Aunt Gail. Sure. Absolutely. Separated by miles, you connected through Mary's awesome live stream. Oh, thank you. That's cool. Hey, Aunt Gail. Welcome. Kimberly, thank you very much. Comment. NATO member nations should forbid use of their airspace and they should seize all assets and silos and on bases we have on their soil, cancel leases. Yeah, I mean, listen, if it comes to that, I think of course, they have to tread very carefully because some of that could be considered an act of war. And we can't exactly trust these people. They're not known for their moderation and equanimity. I think you could say that, especially after we read that Signal chat, they kind of have a hair trigger. They want the violence. They want people to protest in ways that they can, they want people walking on the street to go break fast for Ramadan. Like, seriously. Tracy, comment. Oh my God, we're the sickest nation because we have no universal health care for all, and our pharma is corrupt. Yes, both of those things happen to be true. Yeah, considering, I mean, it's kind of shocking to me that the people who claim that this country is so great and America first seem not to understand that, one, none of that's true, and two, the reasons it's not true is because of the people they keep putting into power. Who won't give us things like, which I consider basic human rights, healthcare, shelter, living wages, the luxuries, childcare, maternity care, maternity leave. Oh, the list is endless of the things we do not get. Jean. Canada in the house. Thank you, Canada. Comment. Hands off protest, April 5th, 2025. Google it and find out where it's going to take place in your area. Yes, Google it. Hands off protest. Cool. Buy Canadian. Also. Henry, thank you very much, Henry. That's fantastic. Comment. The daily onslaughts of our country are blunt force trauma. Oh, an acronym. Thank you. Trump Republicans assault unilaterally mostly Americans. I love that. I love that. I don't know if I can repeat it or say it 5 times fast, but I love it. Trump Republicans assault unilaterally most Americans. That was pretty good. I'm going to practice. Thank you. Seriously, I want a t-shirt. Kimberly, thank you very much. And your comment is thank you. You're quite welcome. Loves my dogs a lot. Thank you very much again. Comment. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to creep you out. I'm just always amazed at the dumb things. It's okay. I'm not, it's, I'm just, I'm shy and easily sickened. It's fine. Don't worry. Champagne Hand, cat in the house. Thank you so much. You guys rock. Comment. We and the rest of the world can help by making sure Ukraine prevails against Russia and by supporting all the other targeted countries. Thank you, Barry. Yes, absolutely. And Americans have our hands tied behind our back because our government is doing the opposite of supporting Ukraine. They're supporting the enemy of democracy and the Western liberal order, Russia. So as private American citizens, though, what we can do is support the countries who are supporting Ukraine and support Ukraine directly, like buy Ukrainian vodka, buy what I don't know. I mean, I'm not familiar with what kinds of things Ukraine exports, but buy all of them in bulk. All right, got some super stickers to thank here. Dodie, thank you as always for that. Donna, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Another Canadian, George, thank you. That's extremely generous of you. Kathleen, thank you very much. That's great. Rain, thank you very much for that. Kay, thank you very much as well. That's awesome. And Rob, thank you for that. That's really great. We got you guys. We really appreciate all of you so much for doing that. All right, that does it for us. Again, bit of a roller coaster. I guess we just need to buckle up and get used to it. So thank you to everybody watching on YouTube. Thanks to everybody, the two of you who are here from Twitter. Really appreciate it. Let's see. What else? Everybody live streaming my Substack. Love having you guys here. And I would love it for everybody here to go check out my Substack, which is called The Good in Us. It is free to subscribe. Another like-minded community. And I would love for there to be as much crossover as possible. And also everybody listening to the podcast. We really appreciate that. To everybody leaving comments, all of our super stickers, everybody throwing us gifts. Again, this is really important. Independent media is kind of our last best hope at this point. We don't have sponsors. We are not beholden to anybody. We don't have investors. We have you guys. And our mission is to make sure that you have all of the facts you need, all of the information you need, and to give you perspective, to help make sense of it, to help connect dots, to help, when possible, help you stay sane. That's what I try to do for myself. Sometimes, not always successfully, but, it's a really good goal. We're really, really trying to grow. And as you know, we are over 350,000 subscribers now, which feels like a really great benchmark. So we just want to keep it going, and you guys help us do that. Also, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, because that helps us a lot, as it does help us when you like and share our videos. So keep doing that as well. Again, to our awesome moderators for keeping this place somewhere we all want to be. And of course, to my just amazing team, who seriously is just dealing with some of the most horrific stuff on a daily basis. I think everybody should get hazard pay, quite frankly, at this point. So we're working on it. Anyway, thanks, guys. And that does it for us. I think it's I don't know. Is it Thursday? It's Thursday. Yes. Wow. Look at me. It's Thursday. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern time for Mary Trump Live. We've got videos dropping during the day. Please check them out. I really do believe you'll enjoy them. Watch them, like them, share them. And we'll have stuff dropping over the weekend. So keep that in mind as well. See you tomorrow night. And in the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind.